So let's actually create a class .php file. We'll open up PHP, we'll close PHP, and again usual suspect, we'll actually create a class here. Okay, class name would be say yeah, employee. So I guess this was one of the example tasks that I actually wanted you all to do. Okay, so what I wanted you all to do was to come up with a class of employee, and then come up with a designation which we would call it as an as example HR extends employee class, I don't know, IT extends employee, and I guess the last one was, or we could say last one would be, I don't know, janitor extends employee. Okay, so now what we already know here is,
I
yeah,
confession.
yeah,
Looks like in all, I missed this total exercise. I mean, between the last one you gave, and there was one exercise for functions, I guess, passing and returning stuff.
right.
Just I'm looking back, and looks like I've totally missed that exercise. I don't even know where that went. I did the first two problems right. I left the rest and went on to the next exercise. I don't know why I did that, but I'll finish that.
Do you want to finish that now?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
Please
okay.
go ahead.
Okay. I mean, if you want to, I actually wouldn't mind, because since you are like the only person in the session today, so if you want to, we can actually do that. Or since have just been like sitting or playing a wax statue for like the last 1.5 week, if you send me those exercises, I can actually work on them with you.
No.
No?
Why
Perfect.
don't you continue with your class and I will actually do those exercises later today.
Bravo. Okay, so let's actually continue the session. Okay. So yeah, what is this? Yeah. So what we have here is we have a class, and then we actually are setting the basic information for the employee object. Okay, and from there we actually would say that the HR person has so and so permissions, the IT guy has so and so permissions, and the janitors have so and so permissions. Okay, so this would actually be a basic, this would again actually be a basic concept of inheritance. Okay, now if we actually take real step one step back and see what exactly like what are the four tenets, if I may say, of OOP. They're encapsulation, then inheritance, then abstraction, and then polymorphism. Okay, so again, polymorphism can be described in different ways. Okay, uh, in regular programming languages we call it by what is it, overloading. So technically it would be overloading and overriding. Okay, that is polymorphism in say like a regular programming language, say C sharp or Java or C++. Okay, but in PHP for polymorphism we only have overriding, no overloading. Okay, so that is all the polymorphism that we have, and polymorphism overriding kind of tags back to inheritance. Okay, so let's actually make sure that we have covered encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. The last one that would be left is going to be data abstraction. Okay, so let me give you a quick example of encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism, just as a quick refresher, and from there let's go to abstraction. There is Munjal. Perfect. Okay, so there, from there we'll actually go to data abstraction. Once we are done with data abstraction, let us uh, okay, so from there let's actually go to yeah, once you're done with data abstraction, let us see if we can begin with databases and dynamic environment today. Okay, class employee, yeah, so let's say dollar name is equal to, oh, you cannot, you don't want to initialize, no, yeah, then we would say public uh, or let's say protected dollar designation. Okay, because designation pretty much ties back to this class. Okay, and you don't want an employee to have a designation. You want a HR employee to have a designation, or an IT employee to have a designation, or a janitor to have a designation. Okay, then what we can have, and then let's quickly go in public function. I don't think we would need function for construct. Let's actually try that out. Let's say echo and employee. Okay, so from here on, let's actually not worry about like Apache for using our like for running our scripts. Since now that we know how to run these scripts from what is it, what, yeah, now that we know how to run the scripts from the command line or from the shell, let's actually use shell for today. Okay, so at this point let's quickly create an object, a test object for dollar employee, which say dollar employee. Okay. Mm, yeah, let's do just do that. Now let's say PHP class. Okay, so it does say an employee, so everything works as expected. Okay, now let's actually go in and say what do I want to say, protected get employee designation. Or let's not say designation, let's actually call it what do people call it, group. Division doesn't sound right. Department, yeah, get employee department. Okay, so let's say that, and in here let's declare the constructor again. Okay, and in the constructor let's actually bring in the parent constructor. Okay, and let's also set So we say dollar this sub department is equal to HR department. Let's say public function underscore underscore get employee department. We'll say return dollar this department. Okay. Now, so we'll have to create a new HR employee. Since that extends HR, we just do that. And we just say echo dollar HR emp no, get employee department. So let's clear that up. I would say class. So it says I have an unexpected string on line 13. Right. Okay. So here let's just say echo get employee. See, in Python, what you'll do is you'll actually put in pass. So let me quickly take a look and see if there is an alternative for that one. Because so PHP equivalent to pass Python. Just leave the brackets empty. See, that's what I did. See, that's what I did, right? I just left the brackets empty, but I got that thing back. So this guy is wrong. See, an empty string. See, again, that's bad. Okay, never mind. Or I could do this. Perfect. I could just say return, right? And that would take care of it. Let's actually run it and see what happens. No. It looks like something's actually wrong here. Just it's on line 13. Oh yeah, that's the problem. That was the problem. Okay. So function, I'm wrong. Okay. I have to say protected function. Yeah. Okay. So it says in employee and then yeah, so let's actually say echo. I guess it's so this should work hopefully in on the command line. If not, let's go to the browser. Yeah, okay, it seems to work. So let me actually come in here. So added two lines. Okay, so you all understand this example, right? Where we have a basic class, okay, the employee. Then what we have done is we are saying we are extending the employee class, and we are saying that the class is going to be HR. Okay, I mean the child class is going to be HR, and it actually extends uh, the original base employee class. Okay, and then we actually are getting the functionality from the constructor using parent construct. And then since this is what is it, since this is a since this is a child class of employee class, protected properties. Oh, oh, damn it. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, since this is a protected property and since the class is extending the base class, we actually have access to the protected property, and in there we are setting the department, and we have a protected function, okay, which is get employee department, okay, and we actually are quickly saying that public function get employee department would return the department which are sitting in the constructor, and we are making a call to the HR employee. Okay, so in this example, what we have seen are three things. The three things are encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. Polymorphism is by overriding stuff. Okay, so we have get employee department here, and we have get employee department here. And like I was saying earlier, we do not have a concept of method overloading. Okay, we just do not have a concept of method overloading. There is pseudo method overloading, which I'll tell you all in a little bit, but that is nowhere equivalent to an object oriented method overloading. Okay, so at this point, let me quickly ask you all if we are clear with this part. I mean, this was just a refresher. We have already covered this part, but since you haven't looked at these for like a week, I just wanted you all to get an idea. Are we all good? Todo bien? All good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. Now, let's actually go to the concept of abstraction. Okay, so in a real-time environment, let me quickly open up Shrib. Um, Shrib. So, so in a real-time environment, let's actually look at the team hierarchy, or for that matter, even employee hierarchy. Okay, so what happens is there is a business guy, okay, or a product guy, okay, who would actually say that I have the business, I have this business problem, I want to, okay, automate it. At that point, there would be somebody from the technical team, okay, somebody like a technical architect, or if the project would uh, impact the whole company, it would be an enterprise architect, okay. So technical architect or enterprise architect would actually sit down with them and say that let us automate the process, okay, and take it from there. Now, enterprise architects and technical architects, they do not have a lot of time on hand, given that the number of people who are available, who have knowledge of all the applications, okay, in a company would be minimal, okay, and they are expected to have knowledge of all the applications. So if there is another, if there is another uh, so if there are like 5 different projects, okay, so business problem 2, 1, 3 and 4. So for all the 4 business problems, it is possible that the same architect is going to be used, okay, given the amount of knowledge that they have, okay. So they would never have a chance to sit down with people, I mean, they would only have chance to sit down with the business people, discuss the problem, okay, and then all they would do is come up with a high level, a very high level technical solution, okay, technical solution, okay. Now, high level technical solution, okay, is always going to be different from regular code, okay, and this is not equal to technical code, or, or real technical code, okay. The reason for that is they would say that what would they say, they would say this is the business problem, xyz is the impacted database, okay, and then abc is the impacted code repository, and 1 2 3 probably are the files if it's procedural, or classes, okay, if it's just object oriented, or okay, in real time, so what is a good way of putting this? So it would be either files, classes, or in real time it could be APIs, okay, or frameworks that are impacted. Okay, I'll tell you all why this could be this big. Okay, the reason being, we actually have a assume that the company is only into printing greeting cards as an example. Okay, now all the code revolves around printing greeting cards. Okay, but now the company says that greeting cards, we are doing very good in the greeting cards environment. Now we actually want to expand into printing, uh, I I don't know what exactly are they called, but they're like these big blankets. Okay, uh, and people actually print 3D stuff onto those blankets, and they are very expensive. People use them at big fancy parties all the time. Okay, so if we want to get into that environment, the code, the base code has to change. Okay, we cannot say that okay, I'll do like let us keep that framework different from this framework, because at that point we might have to redo everything that has already been done in the base framework. Okay, so for that what they would do is they would say that this API or this framework has to be modified. Okay, and they would say, if it is an API or a framework, what part of the framework should be modified. Okay, that's the first thing that they would say. That's the first thing that they would say. One. The second thing would be, oh boy, well, okay. So what part of the, what's going on? Okay, so it says what part of the framework should be modified. The second thing that they would say is, how should it be modified? Okay, because if sizes, okay, of the cards was something like a variable, or I mean it's not a variable, it would be an array. Okay, because there will be multiple sizes, right? Now, do we want to create a new variable? Okay, or do we want to create use the same array? Okay, and make it into, say, like a dictionary where, assuming that sizes, okay, is an associative array. Okay, we would say, I don't know, 3 by 5, okay, is, I don't know, let's just say s1 is 3 by 5. Okay, sorry, s2 is, I don't know, I'm just making this a 4 by 10. Okay, so at this point what I'm saying is, if there exists this variable which is called dollar sizes, okay, at that point they would say that how should it be modified. Okay, the third thing is going to be the functionality. How should the existing functionality be modified? So that's the third thing that they would say. The fourth thing would be, what are the new, or let's keep it constant, the new what should the new functionality be? Okay, what should the new functionality be? Let's say look like. Okay, so these probably are the four biggest things that they would decide. And when it comes to this part, okay, let's only focus on the fourth item, which is what should the new functionality look like. They wouldn't actually go in, okay, and then they would say get print sizes. Okay, because if I actually go to a print page, at that point I don't want all these sizes, I only want print sizes. So I need a new function, print sizes. So what they would do, they would just say, okay, get print sizes is going to be one function, and then they would say, okay, get actual print size, actual print size. Okay, and then in there they would say that, oh, I want the actual print size, but I'm going to pass in the key for that. Okay, where they would say dollar size. Okay, and so on. Okay, but they would never write the code for this one. They wouldn't actually sit down and say that, okay, since I've already written one line, so why not add two more lines? That doesn't work like that. Okay, because normally it is going to take a very long time for anybody to write code. So all that the technical architect or the enterprise architect would do is give us a basic idea of what are the new functions that we'll have to add, and the way they do that is via data abstraction. Okay, is via the concept of abstraction. So we would actually be looking at two concepts here. The first thing is or the first thing would be abstract classes, and the second one would be interfaces. Okay, at this point let me ask you all if there are any questions, because data abstraction is probably like the most misunderstood concept in object oriented programming. People do not have an idea, because once I show you the example, you'll the first question that you'll ask me is, if I already can do that via the class, why should I even implement a interface? Okay, so that is, it is very important for you all to understand this example. Okay, or the workflow. It's not an example, this is the workflow. Okay, did you all get it? Did you all get the workflow? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. Okay, so now let's actually look at two concepts. The first one is going to be PHP interface. Okay, object interfaces. Okay, now now let's actually skip the other stuff, and let's take a basic look at what is the how like what is the basic example for interface. Okay, now it looks like they are working on a HTML template. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so it is see, again, it is very similar to our print sizes example, right? All that they are doing is they have a template. Okay, the template class is being created by the developer, while the I template is being created by the technical architect. Okay, the technical architect who has worked with the business people is saying that, oh, they want set variable functionality and get HTML functionality. Okay, so all that we'll have to do is we will just have to close our eyes and implement this interface. Okay, now let's actually see how that happens. Now let's close this example, let's clean it up. So um, let's say, now let's actually go to so what is a good way of naming this one? Yeah, let's just call it print work, not workflow. It's called print abstraction dot php. Okay, let's stick to our print example. Okay, so again, let's go back to basics. The basics for data abstraction would be, we would have to use either something called as an interface, or we would use an abstract class. Okay, for now let's use the interface. The yeah, the syntax, that's the right word, syntax to declare. Okay, to declare an interface is going to be interface. Okay, it's always good to follow the convention. The convention is to name an interface as the same name as class that would implement it. Okay, or the functionality should be very close. I'll tell you all the reason why. Okay, or name it as close as possible to the class. Let's call it I. Let's just call it print tabs. Okay, abs. Yeah, probably this makes sense. Okay, in here, okay, in here we would just say yeah, I guess we would just say function get sizes. Okay, and then or let's say function get print sizes. Okay, and then we would say function get actual size. Okay, and we would say we are passing in dollar size. Okay, now like I've said, an interface is just a, okay, so look at it as a partial schema. That's what I would call an interface. It's not a complete schema, it is just a partial schema, even for a class, no, not just for an application. Even for a class by itself, an interface is just a partial schema. Okay, so now let's actually implement it for a class, and we would call the class print abstract. Okay, and we would say implements is the keyword. For implementing an interface, we just say I print abstract. Okay, now let's actually do two things, or one thing. Let's first begin with declaring a constructor, or any instantiating the constructor. We would say echo inside print abstract. So when we actually did this for what is it? So let's actually cd to rww training page 4. Okay, so when we actually had done this with a regular class, everything worked fine. And when we would declare an object for this class, dollar print abstract is equal to new print abstract. Okay, print abstract. Yeah, so at this point everything works fine, right? We would actually go into the print abstract, we would create an object, then the constructor is created. Let's see what happens here. Right, so what it is saying is, if we implement something, okay, if we implement an interface or an abstract class, we are pushed to declare or implement the methods. If not, we will get a fatal error, unlike inheritance. So you all might actually think, what is the big deal with an interface? Okay, when I say that the interface is a partial schema, schema has to be followed. Schemas, what are schemas? Schemas are a set of rules, and if you do not follow the rule, you would get an error, right? So we are pushed, pretty much we are pushed to implement the uh, implement the interface. Now let's actually implement the interface and see if everything works as expected. Print sizes, and then we would say public function get actual size, right? We would say dollar size, right? Now let's see what happens here. Now we have implemented all our methods. See, everything works. Let me actually uh, add a new line. See, br wouldn't work when we are running from a command line. Br break wouldn't work. The reason for that being, break is an HTML element, okay, and it would only work on a web page. But now that we are running it from the command line, it would only slash n, which is the next line character that is coming from C. Okay, next line comes from, is being pretty much inherited from C, so only next line would work on command line. Okay, now let's actually print it and see. At this point, beautifully it is actually going in, and it is actually echoing print abstract. Okay, at this point, let me ask you all if there are any questions. I'll take it as a no. Okay, now what we have is, we actually have an interface. Okay, and we are able to what is it, we are able to implement the interface. Another quick point, good point would be, Okay, now what I would do is I would say I print man, I don't remember those, so let me actually look for that word real quick. So let's actually put in 3D printing and let's actually see what are all the uh, mm, okay, no mind, that will probably be a headache. So let's actually say I print mugs. Okay, and then we actually say that let's actually create an interface for so mugs are one thing. All right guys, let's I need crowdsourcing for this one. So let me give me another thing that we can print, say like pictures or something. So mugs are one thing that people get their faces on or some kind of stuff. What are the other things? Quick, I need crowdsourcing for that one. T-shirts, print T-shirts, abstract. Okay. So now the point of having this example, I'll tell you all what it is. So now let's actually rename this to get print get mugs print sizes. See, these are again, they are not very well named, but once we get to a real project, we'll have to work a little more on naming them. Okay, following the naming convention. Get t-shirt print sizes function get t-shirt. Let's remove s, let's keep it singular. Get t-shirt actual sizes. Okay, and let's call it dollar size. Okay, here now we'll have to implement both of them, or we could even say we would keep this as it is. Okay, so now we are getting into the awesome part of object oriented programming, right? You would say we'll create a dollar type. Okay, okay, and in here you would say dollar type comma size. Okay, now let's actually implement these methods, and we could, since we do not want anybody else to access them, let's make this private, and we'll say public function get mug print sizes. Okay, and this would in turn call this get print sizes, and again the type is going to be, what is it, mug, right? So by doing this, what we are doing is we are keeping our business logic to just do these two functions. Okay, and we are, or let me let me rephrase that. Okay, so we are putting our model functionality, if I may call it. Okay, the data access is being limited to this one, these two functions. Okay, the data access is limited to these two functions, and the business logic would be limited to these four functions. Okay, so the way we would do that would be public function get mug actual size. Yes, so it has to be, or this won't be sizes, right? This has to be single size. Okay, it cannot expect more than one, so it has to be size. Okay, and here we're passing in a size. Okay, so we would again in turn take that size and we would actually pass it back to get actual actual size. again dollar type is going to be mug, and then dollar size is already coming in from the user. Okay, and then again let's actually copy this and paste it. Say YP. Okay, so you have mugs. Now all we'll have to do is we just have to rename this guy with t-shirt, t-shirt, and we'll have to rename it here. Okay, and again real time
Uh,
we wouldn't even have to do all this stuff. What we would do is we would use a concept called generators. Okay, and in generators
type, please add an S in the last function. T-shirt actual sizes. No,
what
no, it's good. Sorry.
what happened?
No, I had a small misunderstanding. Sorry, got scared.
Okay, uh, okay, so what I was saying was we wouldn't even have to write all these functions. All that we would do is we would actually declare these functions, okay, on the fly. That's the power of PHP. Okay, real time when we get to this kind of a situation, we would actually make this into a variable, okay, just like JavaScript, and we would actually replace mug, okay, in both these places with a variable. Okay, and on the fly we are going to generate the function, get the data, and throw the function away. The reason that we would do it that way is by doing that we are saving interpreter time, because think about php is not an interpreted language, right? So we really do not need any kind of compilation and storage, right? All we are doing is interpreting on the fly and we are executing it. Okay, so at that point if we do not have to store any kind of opcode cache for this one, we wouldn't even worry about it. So we would just create a quick generator function and we would throw it into the mix. Okay, now let's actually, so this will not print anything. Okay, but all we'll have to do is just verify that everything is working. Okay, so let's print. Okay, so there's a parse error on line 8. So what did I do? Yes, so see, interface is not a function, so it cannot take any parameters, right? Now let's say I print abstract not found. Very good. I print abstract is not found. The reason for that is since it doesn't exist. At the same time, we'll also have to extend the other one too. So it is good that we got this issue. I print mugs abstract. So to add another interface, we would do comma, which is I print t-shirts abstract. Okay, I print t-shirt abstracts, which would allow us to get other functionality, and here we actually are able to get all these functions. So look at it this way, this interface was written by the print shirts team. Okay, so print shirts team has a technical architect, and then I mean the t-shirts team has one architect. Okay, and mugs team has a different architect. Okay, so all that they would do is they would give us the schema, and as the development team we would have to write the code. Okay, does that make sense? I mean, the reason I'm actually giving you all these workflow examples is for you all to understand why interfaces are required. Okay, because it's very important for you all to understand that the reason that we write PHP, the reason that we write code is to solve a business problem. So if you, so that's the basic thing that many of us miss. Okay, there is a reason why we are writing code. The reason is to solve a business problem. It's not just to have some kind of code. So it's always important that your business or your code has to solve a business issue. So always keep that in mind. Okay, so is everything clear with interfaces? All good? I will take that as a yes. Now we have seen interfaces. Now let's actually look at another concept called abstract classes. So let's scroll up, and and we should see abstract class somewhere here. Yeah. Okay, so the only thing with abstract classes that I like is, I'll actually show you all what. Now if you all see it here, we are pretty much putting in 3 or 4 methods in here. Okay, again, see, again, this is something that a lot of us miss, and I want you all to pay focus on. When I do not give a, okay, when I do not give a access specifier, it already means that it is public. Okay, or it already is assumed that an interface will only have public methods. Okay, it will not have any protected or private methods. Okay, so now let's actually see, try and say that, oh, hang on, get mug actual size has to be protected, I don't want anybody to access it, as an example. Okay, let's see what happens. Then there we go. So it says access type for interface method must be omitted, it cannot take an protected method. Now the question is going to be, come on, I actually want my get mug actual size to be protected, I only want the mugs team to use this method as a base method, I don't want them to implement it directly. At that point, okay, at that point what we would do is we would actually use the concept of we would actually use the concept of abstract classes. So let me quickly rename this file. I'll say print abstraction to print abstraction interface. Okay, and now let's open up print abstraction abstract class dot php. Okay, now let's actually take a quick look at what defines an abstract method. Okay, so let's scroll up, let's actually go through the basic idea. Okay, it says I mean, there are abstract class and abstract methods. Okay, so the class is going to be abstract. Okay, and at that point we would have we would actually we are actually able to declare, okay, these methods. Okay, they're protected. Okay, and we would actually say that we would rename them. Okay, and we would actually go from there. And here, it says that classes defined as abstract may not be instantiated. That's again just like an interface. Okay, even you really cannot declare what is it, you really cannot declare an object, okay, for an abstract class. Okay, any class that contains one abstract method must also be abstract. Okay, so that's one other thing. Okay, then it says when inheriting from an abstract class, all methods marked abstract have to be defined by the child. Again, it's very similar to interface in that sense. Okay, the reason uh, here is what is the reason for what all methods marked abstract must be, yeah, again, just like interface, since abstract methods do not have a body, we are pushed to what is it, where we are actually pushed to uh, declare yeah, I mean define the method functionality inside the class that is extending it. Okay, and then finally, see the basic point that I actually want, yeah, this is the main point. Okay, it says, for example, if the abstract method is defined as protected, okay, the function implementation must be defined either as protected or public but not private. Okay, so forget this part, not private part, forget that, but we are saying that we can actually give an access specifier and we can use the access specifier again. Okay, now let's actually go back to one earlier example, let's actually save it and close it. Okay, here you say class.php. Okay, so here what I'm doing here is I actually am saying that I would declare employee, right, I would declare employee, I would actually add functionality and I would do whatever I want. But here I'm still allowing my user to create an object for dollar for employee, which pretty much defeats the whole purpose of me creating subclasses, right? According to the business logic that I have in here, I am saying that there will there will not be any person who is an employee. There would either be a HR employee, there would be an IT employee, or a janitor. Okay, but there just cannot be a base employee. So in such cases, all I will have to do is I would have to say that this class is abstract. Okay, and then I can actually give in all kinds of functionality. I can have protected functions, public function, and all that magic. It is just that if I give any say this one, if I actually uh, if I actually say that I want this to be implemented by all my classes, I would just have to call this abstract. Okay, uh, did you all understand this example with abstract classes? You all are
Kind
pretty
of.
silent today. Okay, you kind of understood. Okay, so let me ask you, like, are there any basic questions? Yeah, kind of too. Okay, so what part do you think are you all missing?
No, it's not a part that we are missing, but until unless I do something with it, I don't think I'll get the whole picture. So it's okay.
Okay, so code aside, are you all understanding the reason or the business part that I'm talking about as to why we
Yeah.
need abstract class and interfaces?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Now let's redo the same example. Let's actually scrap print abstracts. No, not print abstraction. Let's actually scrap print abstraction, abstract class. Okay. Since you have an idea of the employee class, let's actually create employee abstraction via abstract class. Okay, abstract class.php. Let me have the original class open here. Let's say class.php, and now we'll just mock what we've already done, but we would actually what is it, put in more checks in place so that nobody messes with the base employee object. Okay, so the first and foremost thing that we want to do is to say that nobody can create an object for the employee. The way we would do that is by adding the keyword abstract, and the reason for that is, let's actually take a quick look at manual again. Okay, it says yeah, so it says in second point, it says classes defined as abstract may not be instantiated. Okay, okay, may not be instantiated. This like the, there is of paramount importance to understand what they mean by classes defined as abstract may not be instantiated. We can never create an instance of an abstract class. Okay, which means we can never create an object for $employee, and that is the main requirement that we have here. Okay, which is abstract class employee. Okay, we would say again public $name protected $department. Okay, and we are saying public. See, we technically wouldn't need this constructor given that we're not passing in any information. Okay, so let's create an abstract, or let's actually do it, let's say, just for keeping stuff consistent. But again here, see, I pretty much am like messing myself up. When would we need a constructor? The only reason that we need a constructor is if we are instantiating an object, right? And we are not instantiating the object, so we wouldn't actually need it. So let's go and create an abstract method. Okay, or let's create a basic public method so that we understand the difference between an interface and an what is it, and a and an abstract class, right? So be, I don't know, return class. So all you would do is you would just say employee. Okay, then let's say abstract protected function get employee department. Okay, we shouldn't have that. Okay, but here the biggest thing to understand is we cannot what is it, we cannot declare anything. No, we cannot define body, we can declare it, so we just have to leave it as it is. Okay, now we'll have to do class HR extends employee, right? And in here we just say public function underscore it's not a okay, construct. Okay, since the parent doesn't have a constructor, we wouldn't do parent construct, but we would say dollar this department. Since we have it, yes, we have it, we just say HR department. Okay, and again we would say so we just want this public, the function get employee department. We just say return dollar this department. Okay, now let's actually echo a new line. Then let's create an HR employee object, and then again let's echo a new line. Okay, and then again we'd have to echo dollar HR employee, yeah, get employee department, right? And then again let's again add another new line, or let's add two of them for visual purpose. Okay, so at this point let me actually split it horizontally. Okay, just so we have basic ideas to what we are doing. Okay, I'll split this one horizontally too, so that let us run both of them side by side, and let us actually understand what am I like, what is the whole point of using an abstract class. Okay, or training OOP. Okay, now we will run, let's do php minus l and see if there are any syntax errors. Perfect, wow, there are no syntax errors. So let's actually say class nahi, what is the name of the file? The name, okay, the name of the file is employee abstraction. Perfect. So see, at this point I'm able to get HR department, right? Which is the right thing. But we were able to get HR department even with this this file. Let's see what is the big deal with this one. Let's do dollar employee is equal to new what is the name, employee, that's it. So it'll be, let's see, let's do dollar employee, that's it. Okay, and let's actually run the file again. See, at that point I'm getting a fatal error, right? Now let me make take it do the same thing here. cd www training op php class is the, I mean this is class file, or like the file name of this one is class.php, and I'll run it again. I'm getting the same thing, I'm getting HR department. Let me actually comment this for now and get add the same number of new lines so that there is minimal difference, and add a new line here. Okay, see, we are getting the same thing. Now let me actually comment this out. Okay, see, both of them are printing HR department, right? Now but here I'll actually say I want to create an object for employee and do whatever I want to do with employee. Let us see how do these two files behave. Okay, see, okay, I did not save it. Now let me run the file. I get a fatal error. It says cannot instantiate abstract class employee on so and so. Now let's see what happens here. See, it is able to create create the employee class, and it is also able to create the or like it is able to create an object, probably that's the right word, object for employee class, and it is also able to create the object for HR department. But the business requirement is employee object or employee class shouldn't be touched by anybody. It shouldn't be, nobody should be able to access it except from base class, from child classes. Okay, the way we would do that is by using an abstract class. Okay, at this point let me ask you all, I'm pretty sure there would be questions, but what I want you all to understand is not from the code perspective, but from the, but I want you all to understand the usability perspective of it. Okay, so are there any questions in terms of understanding the usability as to why we have to use abstract classes, interface or data abstraction, or the concept of data abstraction?
The concepts as in concepts, I'm fine.
Okay,
But then when it's coming to code, I'm finding it a little difficult to follow.
okay, so what part? So should I close these two windows here?
No, that's fine. I'll go through them again. If you can send these to me, I'll let you know if
Yeah, uh, send these. Okay,
I
so
mean, it's okay if you don't send them to me as well. I can just look at like, other examples, but then.
no problem. What I can do is I can actually send these three things over to you all. Okay, but I would rather suggest you all to create your own examples. Okay, and come up with your own use cases. Okay, you
So
can
why
use this
don't you
for
just send
reference.
out an exercise today after class? That's going to
Pooja,
be.
don't take it in the wrong way, but I'll actually let you all handle this exercise saying like a different set of exercises. The reason for that is this is going to be big. Okay, uh, so I'll let you all finish the ones that you all have now. Okay, and for this one we'll have to spend more time. Okay, this I've actually dumbed it down completely, uh, so that this would be for a basic understanding. Okay, but when we get to exercises we'll have to look at how frameworks implement it. Okay, as an example I'll actually show you what I mean by that. Okay, because when we look at say let's take a look at Zen framework, because people talk nice things about Zen framework. Let's say so this, where's their API thing? Learn, get started, APIs or a reference guide. Reference guide. Okay. So in the reference guide, mm, Zen authentication. Let's take a look at Zen authentication. Okay. Database stable authentication. See, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for the base class code. So probably it's APIs. So we'll have to like once we get into this class, these frameworks, at that point we'll have to do another set of exercises. Okay, because these concepts would only come when we use an API, a base API. Okay, so let's actually do this. So let's say browse online, and let's pick namespaces. Okay, so see again in here, when we actually take a look at this functionality, it is always important for us to understand what is happening in here. Okay, this class is obviously not a base, not a an abstract class, but the example here being we are looking at these functions and these namespaces here, and any exercises for OOP will have to be done with an API. Okay, so I mean, yeah, for now I'll actually send you all these examples. Okay, I'll let you come up with your use cases. Okay, and then say like in like 1 or 2 weeks from now, I'll actually like when we well, like when I would introduce you all to the frameworks, we can have a set of exercises for this one. Okay. So Munjal, are you all like, are you good with this part? I haven't like I'm not sure. Oh, you said yeah. Okay, perfect. So now let's actually take a look at what we would do next. Okay, so this is pretty much what we can do with PHP. Okay, I mean we can do more. We can actually talk about a concept called traits. Okay, talk about other stuff, say like late static binding, type hinting, and so on. But I'll let you all take a look at it. Okay, given that I mean, see, these are the basic things for you all to understand before we get to trades. Okay, I'll give you all an example. Okay, so what trades does is it actually allows us to do some kind of functionality, and we'll actually use a more complex concept called reflection to do more stuff with the trades. Okay, so this is normally used for building APIs. So I'll actually skip this part probably for a later point, but for now this is the what is it, this is the OOP part that we can that we'll want to cover. Next, what we can do is we can actually uh, next we can actually jump to databases. Okay, next we'll actually jump to databases. If there are no questions with object oriented programming, any kind of object oriented programming. Okay, so that pretty much is like the last call. If there are any doubts with OOP, go ahead and ask them now. Okay, if not, let's take a break for like 10 minutes and get back, and we'll jump into databases. Okay, so let's go for a break. I'll be back in 10 minutes, so let's circle back at 2:40.
Hey, Sai.
Yes,
How did you get to MySQL in Linux?
I actually did some magic. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
actually show you all. So there are two ways of getting to it. Okay, so the easy way and the hard way, right? Again, so let me begin. Even before we get there, let me begin by asking if you all have any idea with databases, with any database, not just MySQL, but
Sure, I do.
okay. Just so it says no, totally blank. Perfect. It's always good to start with a clean slate. So, so what databases do you have an idea of, Pooja?
I know MySQL.
Okay.
I also know what is the other one? SQL, MySQL and Access. Is it?
Oh, yeah, Access doesn't count, but I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The Oracle database is Microsoft version. No, I know the Oracle database version too.
Perfect. Yeah. So, yeah. So let's actually go back to Shrib for 1 minute. Let's actually see what's up with these databases. Okay. Shrib. Okay. So what we have here. So now let's actually look at what exactly is a database. Okay. Right. So we'll have to always understand what is the whole point of us using a database. Okay. So database is pretty much like a persistent data storage area. Okay. And what are the why do we need data persistence? So we've already worked with arrays, right? We can actually store data in arrays, but if we actually look at how long will the data be stored in an array, it would only be stored in an array during the execution of that program. So if the program is done, we lose the data. But there are cases, or there are like thousands of cases where we would have to store the data in a database, okay, or store the data in a persistent storage area, which means that I actually input some data today, and if I actually come back tomorrow, or even if I come back after 5 minutes, the data should be there. Okay, but if we plan on storing those that such data in an array, we actually would lose the data, right? Now the next question would be, what types of databases do we have? Okay, so again, when I actually let me rephrase it, we would have to say what kind of persistent data storage mechanisms do we have? Okay, the type of persistent data storage mechanisms that we have are: one, we can actually store data to a file, right? Even then it would actually be there persistent. The other way is to store a data to an rdbms, okay, or rdbms or a SQL database. Let's actually put it that way. Or the new thing that we have these days is NoSQL. Okay, so these are the three ways of storing data, okay, in a persistent data storage. Now let's actually focus on RDBMS or the SQL way. Okay, RDBMS is relational database management system. Okay, okay, RDBMS is relational database management system, and the reason for that is we actually are storing data in a way where we can actually create relations. Okay, so what do I mean by relations, right? So here let's actually take a look at Excel. Okay, Excel is a, I mean, even before any real databases came across, or even now, to be honest, people use Excel extensively. Okay, now let's actually see how do they use Excel, or like what do they use Excel for. Okay, they would say that John Doe, John Doe would be the name of the person. Okay, now John Doe lives in 3225, I don't know, Manhattan Avenue or something, Manhattan Avenue. Okay, and he's actually placed an order for what is it, X product on 13th of August. So let's say 8:30. Okay, and then again John Doe placed another order. His address is 3225 Manhattan Avenue, with Manhattan Avenue, and he placed an order for product Y on 8:25. Apparently, this guy is pretty much spends all his time on Amazon.com. So he's actually placed another order for product Z, and no, on October 26. Looks like I've missed something. Cause no, everything's fine. I guess I've missed a space. No, I had to make this capital. Okay, everything's consistent. Okay, so see, so there are, if we would store this data in an Excel sheet, okay, at that point we would actually be, we would have to store three records, three product records for the same guy. Okay, and if we want to store this in a database, okay, all we'll have to do is we would take this out. You would actually say we are actually calling it I don't know, say like you I don't know, let's just say online purchases. So I should have kept that. Let me actually bring it back. Okay, so we'll actually use this for reference. Let me call the new thing called online purchases. Okay, in online purchases what I'll have is a table. A table would be users. Okay, the users would have John Doe and his address 3225 okay, Manhattan Avenue. Let me quickly modify these, make them uppercase. Okay, so and then we'll have another orders table. Okay, we would say X product on 813. Okay, so let me actually bring it here. Yeah, Y product on 825 and product G 826. Okay, let's call it orders. Now what we have successfully done is we've actually taken an Excel sheet with data, and we are actually separating data according to the entities. Okay, the entities here are users and orders. Okay, so entity, the way I would define an entity is, entity is always going to be a single object, okay, or an umbrella where we can group the data into. Okay, say user information, order information, product information, uh, or any kind of behavioral patterns. Okay, all these would be, can be grouped under an entity. Okay, the entity here for this one is going to be users, the entity for this one is going to be orders. But now we want to make some kind of a relationship, that's what RDBM is about, right? It's a relational database. So we would have to make a relationship between this user here and this transaction here. Okay, the way we would do that is we would actually give this guy a unique ID. Okay, and we would say that order, this was placed by this user. This was placed by this user, this was placed by this user. Okay, so this is the relational aspect of it. Now let's take a step back and see what exactly is the entity in this case. The entity here is going to be a table. That is the name, that is what people call it. Okay, and tables again are So we have defined a table as an entity and as an umbrella where we can actually store all the data for that entity. Now the parent of that entity is going to be a database. Okay, online purchases is another umbrella under which all these entities can be grouped. Okay, so the hierarchy is going to be databases, okay, tables, okay, and each table would have rows and columns. Okay, so a row is going to be the vertical unit. Okay, row is the vertical unit. So in this case, this is one row, okay, this is another row, this is another row, three rows. Okay, and the columns are going to be 1, 2 and 3. In this case it will be 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so it's id, username and user address. In here it will be user id, right? This is mapping back to this guy. So is wow, this is going to be user id, order that was the product that was ordered, and the date of the order. Okay, so the hierarchy is we would have a database, which would have a table, and table would have rows and columns that store the data. So this is like a basic 101 of what a data is and how the data would be stored. And again, this is going to apply for all the SQL databases. Okay, this is going to apply for all SQL databases, be it MySQL or SQL Server or Oracle or Informix or anything for that matter. Okay, but this wouldn't apply for say like a NoSQL database. Okay, this is going to only apply for SQL databases. Okay, at this point, let me ask you all if there are any questions. I'll take it as a no. Now, now that we have a basic foundation of what a database is, and now that we also know what exactly is the point of having a database, let's actually create a database. Okay, but before creating a database, we'll have to pick the database server. Okay, now what we have done is we have installed LAMP, right? LAMP is Linux, Apache, MySQL and PHP, which means that we already have a database engine called MySQL. Okay, so okay, so the first question is going to be, there is a database server called MySQL. How do we access the database server? Okay, so there are two ways of accessing MySQL. Okay, two ways of accessing MySQL. The first way is by, I mean, the first way, again, I don't want to sound archaic, but the first way that I would like you all to use is command line. Okay, the only reason again is, assume that you're not working on your local box, assume that you're working on an integrated development server. Okay, and the only way to connect to that server is via something called putty. Okay, putty. Okay, so again, putty if you all are using Windows, but if you all are using say like a Linux box or a Mac. Okay, at that point you will have to use a terminal and you would do something similar to this. Okay, you do test dot, so this is one of my websites. Okay, I'll actually show you all how to use SSH. Okay, so you all would SSH into a remote box. Okay, so let's actually get the IP address of that box first. Okay, so you would do host test.socialprotection.com as an example. Okay, uh, interesting. Oh, wrong name. So we'll do n. Perfect. So we actually are saying that this is the IP address. Okay, so now let's actually, so it's a remote box, that is the point. Okay, it's a remote box, it has a static IP address, right? Now let's SSH into it. Okay, once we SSH into it, it'll ask for a secure password and we give it, and at that point we would say I'm the like, we'll actually get onto the secured box. Okay, because again, secure shell, I mean SSH is secure shell, right? So this connection is going to be secure, and then if there is MySQL, I don't think I've installed MySQL on this one because I'm actually running this on a Mongo server. Okay, so MongoDB is a NoSQL database. So let's exit out from here. Exit. So that is how you would connect to a remote box. Okay, now yeah, so yeah, the main point was when you make a remote connection to a different box, all you have is a command line tool. Okay, so I would uh, suggest you all to use command line to access the database. But if you all think command line is too archaic, you all can use something called phpMyAdmin. Okay, phpMyAdmin is a what is it? phpMyAdmin is a GUI tool. Okay, don't think I've have it installed. phpMyAdmin. Yeah, see, it looks something like this, or it will exactly look like that. So let's say try demo. Okay, see, it would actually look like that. You can actually go in. You can actually I think you can even create a database from here. Yeah, see, you can create a database. You just say uh, training test database. Let's actually leave it for now. See, so the new database has been created. Okay, so this is the training test database. Okay, obviously there are no tables. Fair enough. So the main takeaway from this part has to be that there are two ways of accessing the database. One is command line, the other is phpMyAdmin. Okay, and to install phpMyAdmin, let's actually see what it is. apt cache search php. Come on. Yeah, so all you'll have to do is apt get install -y phpMyAdmin, and that'll take it from there. Okay, it's a very simple thing. All you'll have to do is just hit yes. Okay, oh, by the way, so the command for that is going to be apt install -y phpMyAdmin. So for your reference, I'll actually send it over to you all via chat. Okay, so do that and you'll get phpMyAdmin. Okay, so now yeah, so you have command line.
I
Yeah,
have a quick question. How do I know if I've already installed phpMyAdmin?
if you actually run this command, it will say if the package has been installed or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so what apt-get does is apt-get actually checks if the package already exists locally. If not, it would make a HTTP request over to the repository to get the package. Okay, so I mean, long story short, if you actually run this command, it will tell you if the package is installed or not.
Okay.
Or you could
Okay.
even do something called I mean, that's a good question. apt I mean, I'll find that out though. See, there is another command where you can actually do rpm -m. Let's see what's here. Also, I don't have it. Okay, yeah. See, there are two ways of installations. One you can do use apt-get, or the other you can use rpm. If you use rpm, you can actually search if you have already, or like if you can already verify. I mean, you can verify if you have already installed it or not. But yeah, if you actually run that command, it will tell you if it's installed or not. Yeah. Okay. So assuming that you all want to work with command line, okay, I'll actually show you all how it is done via command line, because phpMyAdmin is pretty much uh, I mean, it's very simple. It's like a wizard, so it will be super simple for you all to figure it out. Okay, but yeah, I mean, if you all have any questions with phpMyAdmin, let me know. I can actually install it and I'll show it to you. Yeah, but for now, let's actually connect to uh, what is it? Connect to MySQL via command line. Okay, now the tricky part here though is when you have installed LAMP server, you would have used a password to uh, authenticate the MySQL user. Okay, so you will have to remember that password now, because when I would say MySQL minus u root, okay, it is going to ask me for the password. Okay, so now I would say MySQL, I'm saying that minus u as in user is root, and I'm saying that user root has a password. Okay, that's why I would say minus p, and at this point it will ask me for a password. I will enter the password. Okay, and at that point I get a basic welcome message saying, or like giving me all the information as to like what the version is and all that magic. Okay, now what I'll do is, the first thing that I'll have to do is to create a database. Okay, so at this point let me take one step back and I'll ask you all if you have already run that command, MySQL minus u root minus p. Like, do you all want to try it now or do you all want to try it after the session?
PHP, MySQL. Let me try it right now.
There's no PHP in there, it's only MySQL minus u root minus p. So let me actually copy and paste that command for your reference. Minus u. Yeah, so you'll have to run that command. I will do everything after the session. Okay. Uh, just a quick detour. Do you all watch college football? Anybody?
No.
No?
Told you, NFL, NBA.
That's
That's
it?
about it. Yeah, strictly. And NFL season started. I have now no time for anything else.
Very good. What team do you support?
Pardon me?
What
Me,
team do you
what?
support?
49ers, of course. I'm a San Francisco girl.
49ers, huh? Okay. Oh, you all lost the final last time, right? That would have hurt bad, right?
Last time and last before time too.
Yeah. How bad did that hurt?
No, they are pretty good. Whatever you say.
See, they're just pretty good, man. They're not absolutely good, right? That's the sad part. I feel for them.
Wait until this season when they kick some ass. So yeah, then you can talk to me about it.
Did he say get their ass kicked or what did he say?
And they kick some ass. So yeah, they will this season.
Yeah. See, I guess that's
No,
the
but
problem.
last season, last before time, I was really supporting the Manning guy,
Old one or new one? I mean the younger one.
the older Manning. Which
Yeah.
Manning? Eli
Peyton.
Manning and
Peyton. Peyton.
Patriots.
Not Patriots, man. Come on. Patriots is this guy, no? What is it? Brady. Tom Brady. So
Tom Brady.
you probably are
No, I
thinking
didn't
about
like Tom.
Giants.
I was supporting the Manning, Eli Manning.
So it's Giants. Giants. New York Giants.
No, there was Tom Brady versus Eli Manning. When was this? Last
That
before
was,
season?
yeah, that was the year before the last one.
Yeah, that season.
Yeah, they won
I
it that
think
time.
Tom Brady was playing for his dead owner.
Really?
Yeah, his owner's wife was dead that year, so the whole team was playing for the dead owner.
Yeah, that
So
does.
yeah, poor thing they lost, but I really felt bad for Tom Brady. But then yeah, Eli Manning was it.
See, somebody has to lose. She just likes 49ers. Somebody has to lose, man.
Yeah, this season I'll talk to you about it, Sai. Don't worry about it. I'm not talking anything because I don't want to jinx anything.
Oh, about the loss again? You're gonna talk about it again? Oh man, I feel bad for you. See, I'm just into smack talk, so don't mind.
I don't mind. I have a lot of people who don't support 49ers here
Oh, you
around me.
probably are used to it, right? That's why you don't mind.
Good one, but yeah.
uh, Anyways, so let's get back to MySQL. So, do you try that MySQL command? So now let's actually work on creating a database. Yeah, so that's the fun part. So that's like the first step. So for creating a database, the first thing is going to be create.
Your magic worked.
Oh, did nice, perfect. So what magic are you talking about though?
MySQL magic.
Oh, okay, awesome. So from command line or PHP admin?
No, from command line. I have MySQL right now.
Perfect. So now let's create the first database. Okay. So to create a database, we would again it's pretty verbose. So that's the good part about SQL. It's very verbose. So you kind of know what you're working on. Okay. So you just say create database name. Now the database name, let's actually call it so hang on. So we have already named something here, right? Online purchases. Yeah. So let's actually create the online purchases database. Okay. Online purchases database. Okay, so now it says online purchases. Now the next question is going to be how can you verify it, right? You've created a database good enough, but how do you verify it? So if you want to verify if you've created a database, or if you want to take a look at all the databases that are on the server, all you do is you will say show dbs. Okay, so that would work on Mongo. So let's do show databases. Yeah, so this works on MySQL. Perfect. So the databases that we have are information schema, MySQL, online purchases, test and performance schema. So keep in mind, never mess with any other database other than yours. Okay. Again, keep in mind, never mess with any other database other than yours, because the assumption is it's a boolean. Okay. You either know about a database or you do not know about a database, and never mess with any database that is not yours. Okay. The reason being, it is a persistent data storage. Okay, and if you mess with that data and if something happens to that data, you're screwed. So only let us focus on our data, okay, which would be online purchases. Now if I want to use my database, how would I do that? The way I would do that is use online purchases. Okay, now it means that you are using online purchases and you can go crazy and do whatever you want in this database. So the first thing that you'll have to do is you will have to create a table, right? Obviously. So now even before we go in sorry, even before we create the table, let's actually take one step back, okay, and see what all do we want to do in a table. Okay, so now let's only work on the users table. Okay, so write uh, let's actually write down what all columns do we want. The first column that we want is a user id, right? And then username, and then user address. So there is a reason why I've actually written it down as user id, username and user address. So the quickest answer for that is going to be name spacing. Okay, so depending on the client that you work with or depending on the project that you work with, there might be a certain assumption that the table name has to be plural while the column name has to be singular. That is one assumption. Okay, the second assumption is going to be assuming that the table name is plural, the singular namespace has to be added to each column. Okay, that is another thing about setting the standards. Okay, so somebody sets the standards and we follow it. Okay, as developers. Okay, so it could either be user id, username, user address, or id, name, address. Okay, I normally prefer this part because I'm not what is it, redoing all the user part, because I already know if it is inside a user's table it should be the user's id and not somebody else's id. But again, this is all to do with standards. So if there are 100 tables which already follow this standard, make sure that you follow the same thing. But if you are starting from scratch, create a standard which is applicable and agreeable to all the developers in the team. Okay, so the first thing is going to be, say, coming up with the columns. The second thing is going to be mapping a column and giving a data type. Okay, now let's actually take one step back again, and let's take a look at the MySQL documentation. So one thing that I'll have to accept is MySQL documentation is the shittiest documentation. So it's like the worst documentation that you'll ever find. Okay, but since we are using MySQL, we'll have to live with it. Now, I don't want to download it. Uh, wow. See, it's not at all user friendly. It's a big headache to work with this thing. Wow. So now let's just say MySQL data types. Um, so data type overview, data. Yeah, yeah. So here, so these are the 6 data types that we can actually use. Okay. Now let's take a quick look at uh, one or two of them. Okay, so let's start with numeric. Okay, okay. So in here, there's too much information to be honest. But you know what? Let's actually skip this part. Okay, and let's only focus on these things. Okay, so the numeric here is going to be int. Okay, then you have string, which is going to be varchar. Okay, so these two are like the most common things that you'll normally use, and that will actually use it for our application. Okay, um, so let's go back in here, and we are saying that id is going to be an int. Okay, name and so name is going to be uh, a variable character array of say 30 characters. Okay, and then address is going to be, okay, so there is this other other data type called text, which allows a lot of information. Okay, but let's skip that for now, and let's say that this is going to be a varchar of 80. Okay, so now we already so for consistency purposes, so let's say, yeah, so this makes more sense, right? So we would say id is int, name is varchar, and address is varchar 80, name is varchar 30. Okay, so now this is the text requirement. Now we'll have to convert this into actual SQL. Okay, so I'll give you all a basic idea of how to write a table here, and we'll take this into the MySQL console. So we would say create table, table name, which is users, and then we'll open and close the bracket. Okay, and in there we would say id int comma. Okay, so the columns have to be comma separated values. Okay, name is varchar 30, and address is varchar 80. Okay, so this is pretty much how you create the users table. And again, normally for what is it, For usability purposes, it's always good to have each column on its own line, but for now I really do not care, so I'll just like take this and paste it into what happened. I'll take it, copy, and I'll actually paste it here. Okay, paste. Okay, and then add a separator which is semicolon, and it's a query. Okay, perfect. Now just like show databases, we have a command called show tables, and that would give us our users table. Now let us so now again let us now we have a table called users. The way we would access the table, okay, are for three reasons, okay, and they are actually called the CRUD operations. Okay, they are called the CRUD operations. So these are the only four reasons why we would access a table. Okay, one is create, one is read, one is update, and the last one is delete. Okay, so these are the only three cases where we would access a table. Okay, so we have already come across the creation part. Okay, we have already created the user table. Now read. Now the way we would actually read data from a table is via a concept called, I mean, or via the keyword select. Okay, we would say select everything. So the wildcard star is says that we are selecting everything, just like any regular expression, right? If we say star in a regular expression, it says that get me everything. So we are saying select star, which is give me everything uh, from, as in like give me everything from, we'll have to mention a table name, which is going to be users. Now let's actually take this, let's copy it, and let's paste it here. At that point it would give us an empty set, right? Obviously, because there is no data in there, so what is it going to give us, right? Now we'll have to, since there is no data, okay, since there is no data, we would have to create, we would again have to use the create part. Okay, so now there are two ways of creating the or like there are two creates. One is for data declaration, okay, it's called DDL. Okay, data declaration language, and the second one is going to be data manipulation language. Okay, so for data declaration we would use create table, but for data manipulation we would use a command called insert. Okay, we would say insert, insert as in put some data into, okay, we'll have to give a table obviously. The last one is going to be insert into users, and the data is going to come at the end, and we would actually use a keyword called values. Okay, and we would say one John Doe, John Doe address is yeah 3225 Manhattan Avenue. Okay, okay, so we are saying insert into users this data. Okay, we are saying that this data, it's a little, it's more of a recursive thing. Okay, so we would say that insert this data into users. Okay, I would actually like SQL to be that way, but what are we going to do? Okay, so we just copy it, you just have to interpret it that way, right? So we'll have to copy, let's copy this and let's paste it here. Voila, there we go, we have a row that is inserted, and this says that the query is okay and one row affected. Now let us do the read operation again. Now that we have created something, let's do a read operation. So here this is our first row that we have inserted into a database. So we are saying that the ID is one John Doe and the address. Okay, so at this point what we have done are two things: create creating data using insert, and reading the data using select. So technically half of it is already done, right? Because all we have left is a is read and update, or like half of it are read and update. So at this point, let me ask you all if there are any questions. No questions? Perfect. Now let's actually, since we know, no, boy. So what we have here? Yeah. So we are good with create and insert. Now let's take a look at update for 1 second. So for update, we would want to say John Doe is probably not the right name. Okay, we made a mistake. So we would have to update the data. At that point, we would say update table name, which is obviously users. Update a user, okay, in the users table, and set the name of that user equal to I don't know, Jane Dane, where, okay, we are saying that update a user in the users table, set the name of that user to Jane Dane, where the user's ID is equal to 1. So that is how I would interpret an update command. Okay, see, at that point there is a match and the data has been updated. So let's again run a read command, and you would actually say that for ID 1 the name has been modified to Jane Dane. Okay, and this is not common in a real environment, but there are cases where we want to get rid of the data. Okay, I mean, again, there are no real cases because there are no hard deletes, but since we have to take a look at a delete, we'll take a look at it. So we would say delete from users. Okay, we only want to delete one user, where id is equal to 1. Boom. Now there will be no users in here again, so we're back to square one. Okay, it's empty because we have deleted the only user that we have. Okay, so those are the CRUD operations for a database. Okay, at this point let me take you all through a quick recap as to what we have done with databases. We have created a database. Okay, we have created tables. Okay, and while creating tables we added columns to those tables, and then we actually created or like used the insert command to create rows, or like to create one row, and then we use the select command to get the data or fetch the data. After that we actually use the update command to update the name of that user, and then we use the delete command to get rid of that user. Okay, so these are the CRUD operations that we have performed. Again, this might sound a little redundant, but let me ask you all if there are any questions with anything, to do with databases. Bravo. No, no questions. So let's actually look at more. Okay, so now let's actually recreate our example in the database. So let me ask you all. I mean, I normally ask this with everybody. What all do you all want me to cover in SQL? Okay, so I normally leave this to the users. I mean, or the audience that I have. So normally what we have is our CRUD. Okay, and then we have basics of read. Okay, select distinct, select wildcards, and all that functionality. Okay, and then we would actually work on where. Okay, so we would say where what is it, select where something is like this or in between that, and so on. So complex where, so let's put it that way. Okay, and then there are joins, which are probably of the most importance, and then we would have stored procs. So once we are done with all these, that is when I would actually go into PHP MySQL. Okay, so now let me quickly ask you all if you all want all these things, or if you, or do you all think that something is not required, I can actually skip it. Okay, and I normally leave it to the audience that I have. Okay, because if you all just want to be a PHP person, you're, I mean, I normally defer to you all. So let me ask you all, what all do you want from this one? Because stored procs are pretty common and joins are pretty common. Uh, so once we finish these, we can get to the connectivity part between PHP and MySQL. Uh, do you all agree or what? Do you all agree?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now uh, let's do it. Wow. Yeah. So I like that enthusiasm. Keep that going. So now let's actually insert more data. Okay. In order for us to perform any kind of a complex query, right? We need more and more data. We need more and more data. So now let's actually yeah, let's actually insert a lot of data in there. Now let's copy this guy. Oh man, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy. So now I need some kind of crowdsourcing, and I want you all to give me some names. Give me people who you like and give me people who you hate. Okay, because I might actually use our names. Nay, nay, let's not use our names. We don't. We would not want to use our names. So yeah, so let's actually say John Doe, Jane Doe.
Djokovic is actually getting his ass kicked with a Swiss player right now, so not a bad name.
Djokovic
Yeah, he's really being badly.
hurt.
Yeah,
Really? I mean,
yeah,
Djokovic is a nice player, no?
yeah. And yesterday, Andy Murray got really badly with this same Swiss player.
Oh
Right now,
man,
Djokovic is.
oh man.
Yesterday, Andy Murray scored, 6-0, 6-4. I think 3 set, 6-4, I guess.
Hmm.
3 set game yesterday with Andy Murray. The Swiss player won.
Wow.
I don't even know his name. Mike, yeah, there you go. Munja just said.
Mike Wazowski. Mazowski. He's a Swiss player?
Yeah, he is.
Hmm. Bravo to him. Mike Wazowski. Okay, so yeah, now that we are going with these people, let's go with Roger Federer. And the list would never end without Nadal. Okay, so we have John Doe, Jane Dane. Both of them are legendary tennis players, and the rest of them are contemporaries. So let's actually say 3225, 3226, 3227, 3228, 3229, 3221, 3222. Wow, heights of laziness. Anyhow, let's actually run these commands. So with the power of MySQL, we can actually run a batch command like this. You just copy it and you just paste it, and boom, you actually have 7 rows now. Okay, select star from users. Right, you have 7 rows. That's pretty awesome. Now let's actually, okay, so these are the users. Okay, and we actually are an online purchase database, right? So what we'll have to do, yeah, what we'll have to do is we would say, mm, what's the next step? Yeah, we'll have to create some kind of a relational part where we would have, or hang on, so we just want to do selects, right? So we can actually skip that part. Perfect. So now let's actually uh, run a few complex select queries. Okay, so let's say, so let's remove this guy too. These are not really very complex, but I'll call them complex because they're not easy either. Complex selects. Okay, the first thing is to fetch items by column names. Okay, see, I just want to know what is the id and what is the username. Okay, so all I would do is I would just say give the column names id and what was that name of, oh no, from users. Okay, so if we do this, oh, I cannot paste it here. See, I'll actually get all the users. Now let's actually make it more fun. We would say select id and name from users, where I actually am building a profile page. Okay, actually I'm building a profile page. So when a user clicks on a specific link, okay, I would say that this is the user and the user has an id of 1. Okay, and on click I'm actually building the showing the profile page of that user. Okay, at that point I'll have to pass an id back to the database. In that, once I pass the id to the database, at that point I'll have to query the table based on that id. Okay, now assume that there are 7 links and the third link is clicked of Novak Djokovic. Okay, at that point what will happen, we'll get an id of 3. Okay, and then we'll actually have some kind of a profile data column or something similar to that, and we would say select id comma name from users, where id is equal to 3, and we'll print it that way. So if we want to get a person, a specific person, at that point we can use the command where, and we would actually say that this condition has to be met. Okay, okay, if you want to make it a little more complex, we'll make it a little more complex in a little bit. Okay, so give me, guys, give me 1 minute, I am getting a call, I'll have to answer that. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, so now what we have here is we are saying that um yeah, so we are saying that the we are selecting a user where a column has to match a given value. Now we would say that okay, I don't trust the database system that we have. I actually want more I actually want to make sure that both the data, I mean like both the columns match the data that I'm sending in. Okay, at that point if you want to do multiple columns, all we will do is and. Okay, we would say and name is equal to, since it's a string you'll have to wrap it in quotes. Okay, we would say Novak, I'll have to get it, Djokovic. boom. At that point will actually get the data. And see, the one thing that we'll have to be careful is we'll have to make sure that everything matches. But if I say this, at that point I wouldn't get it. Or if I say this, I wouldn't, I still got it, and that's super weird, which is not right. So let's actually try and put a space in here. Yeah, okay. So it looks like they actually trim the data, okay? Because when I did this, where I've added a trailing space, they are giving me the right data back, okay?
I
But
don't
when
think this will when you give the space. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work in Oracle, but I think it's working in MySQL.
right, yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I mean, I think it's wrong, but it looks like they actually are trimming the trailing space, okay? Let's actually try that with a leading space too. So let's actually open it up with an extra space and see what happens. See, okay, so they are not doing a left trim, but they are doing a right trim, which doesn't make any sense. See, they are doing a right trim, which is wrong. So let's actually give in another space. Oh, they are doing a right trim. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, at this point, yeah. So if we want both the cases to work, where we would say that the ID has to be 3 and the name has to be Novak Djokovic, at that point we would use and. But if we say that okay, I'm a little lenient and I want to see if one of them is right, I'll get the data back. At that point, all I'll do is use or. Okay. Um, Let me know if you all are making a note of all these queries, or if I'm actually going a little too fast. These again, these are basics, so these technically are your building blocks, and I want you all to have a very good idea of what's happening here. So long story short, are you all taking down these queries? Yes, no, all the
Sai,
above.
actually, I'm pretty well versed with these basics, so that's the reason
Great,
I'm not.
perfect. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're cool with it, no worries. But if you're not, make sure that you take them down.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next thing is going to be, so now we have already seen all the what is it? I call them the usual suspects. Now let's actually take it a step forward and introduce ourselves to say wildcards, right? So let me do a select star from users. So star is the first wildcard. It's always good to understand basics. Okay, star in itself is the first wildcard. Now the second thing is going to be, give me all the users, okay, who actually probably have a D in their name, okay, as an example. Okay, so if I want to say that, give me all the people who have D in their name. At that point, how would I do it? I would just select star from, okay, users. Again, we would still use where name, but we would use a wildcard called like, or we would use a keyword called like, and then we'll have to pass in a wildcard. We would say star, yeah, we wanted J, no? Yeah, so not J, D. So at that point, we would actually get 6 rows. Apparently, it looks like all of them have it. Interesting. So now let's say we want all people with J. Okay, we have 3 people. Okay, but now I'll say that, hang on, I actually want the name to start with J. Okay, at that point I would say like that, and at that point that would show. Or if I want all the people who are ending with E, okay, I would say E. I would actually get these 2 people, right? So they're pretty powerful. So the like command and the wildcards, they're pretty awesome. Okay, now let's work with ranges. Okay, uh, again, so Munjal, I did not get a word back from you saying like, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Or are you comfortable with the pace of it? uh, I'll take it as a all good and move forward. Now the next thing is going to be a range, right? So when I say a range, okay, think about, okay, so let's actually do a Google search. Okay, let's do a Google search for Djokovic. Now scroll down, scroll down. Okay, so here what we have are probably 10 results on this page, right? If I get to the next page, I'll get 10 more results, right? So what we would want to do is, how do we get only 10 results at a time? Okay, probably that's wrong way of putting it, because but I actually want 10 results, okay, in a certain range, or I want 5 results in a certain range. Okay, at that point what I would do is I would say select star from uh, users where id between 2 and 6. Okay, so at that point, again, one thing to keep in mind is it's not exclusive, it's inclusive. So it actually gives us 2 and 6. I mean, originally people might think that if it is between 2 and 6, between 2 and 6 would be 3, 4 and 5. So it's not exclusive, it's inclusive. So this is one of the top, I won't say top, but it's one of those interview questions where people kind of catch you. Okay, so it's inclusive, keep that in mind. So now that we have seen between, let's take another look at in. Okay, or like let's take a look at in. So it's another way of handling range. I won't say range, but a defined array of values. Probably we'll have to put it that way. Where we would say select star from users where uh, id in, okay, 1 comma 3 comma 5 comma 8. Okay, so we would only get 1, 3 and 5 because 8 doesn't exist, right? There are only 7 rows in here. Okay, so 8 doesn't exist. So we would get the rows that are existent. So that is one way of retrieving data. Okay, where what is it? Where we actually have a specified number. Okay, and the next thing would be um, yeah. So there are a few more things that I actually want to cover. One of them would be aggregate functions. Okay, the second thing is going to be joins. Okay, the third thing is going to be stored procs. So we'll have to get through all of these, and all of these three are kind of big concepts. So what we'll do is we'll actually stop at this point, okay, and we have around like 15 minutes, and I'll open it up for any questions. If you all have any questions, we can talk about them. But the other three concepts that I've mentioned, aggregate functions, joins, and store procedures, they'll actually take a little bit of time. So I don't want to start them now. Okay. So are there any questions about anything?
No, sorry, I'm good.
Not now, I'll ask you tomorrow. Perfect. So yeah. So what I'll do is I'll actually, while you're here, let me send you all compose. Oh, you know what? Why compose? I can actually do this. Remove these people and post this guy here. Let's attach var training. Oh, hang on. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. So I'll send you all the files. I think print abstraction and print abstraction interface. I guess both of them are the same. So, oh, I mean, either ways, I'll send you all of them. If there are any redundancies, uh, yeah, I mean, don't mind. Classes, interfaces, abstract classes. Okay. So, other than these four files, do you all want me to send anything else?
No.
You'll think of anything. I don't think you'll need this, right? I don't think you'll need this, or you all would need this. You know what? Let me send you all this part. I mean, use it if you want, or ignore it. Um, okay, so I probably would be good if I can actually put it into a text file. VIDB intro dot text and paste it. Close that. Yeah. So I'm actually sending you all 5 files. Go through them, try them. I mean, whatever you do, make sure that you understand why we are doing it. See, how we are doing it is probably like the last part, because it's just code, right? How we are doing it is going to be a cakewalk. The bigger problem is going to be why we are doing it. Okay, the concept of it. If you all understand the concept, you all can always Google it or take a look at any other code that you have. But to suggest a solution or to approach a business problem and come up with a solution, you all need to have a knowledge of why we would have to implement whatever we are implementing. So make sure that you all have the understanding of why we are doing it. uh, okay, so let me send it over, and I'll actually push this file onto YouTube, and I'll actually send that link over to you all today. Okay. Munjal, are you good with the YouTube? What is it? The the video link that I'm sending over via YouTube. Do you have any issues with it? Is every okay? Yeah, as in yeah issues, no issues. Okay, so no issues, I guess. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, I'll quit pushing the file up to Rapid Share. I'll only do that for. I mean, I'll only push the file onto YouTube so that we only have what is it? A single point to look for. Okay. Yeah. So if there are no questions, let's call it a day. Go ahead and do any of the exercise that you all have not had a chance to complete, or if you're done, make sure that you all go over the OOP concepts and the basics of database that we have covered today, and let's circle back tomorrow 1 p.m. EST, and we'll take it from there. Okay.
Thanks, I'm
All right.
leaving. Bye.
Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day.